In this episode of Crystal Uncorked, my guest is my cousin, D.L. Wennes. I'm so excited that D is here to have an open and honest conversation about his new business, his private practice that he is opening, which will already be open when this episode airs. But as we filmed this, he was a week out from opening date. And what's so fun that we got to have this conversation about or during this time frame is that you can hear about what he's going through right now. You know, if you've started your own business, you've been there before, those fears, those anxieties, and it's so fun to just talk about them. I know they're not fun to live in, but it is fun to talk about. We can relate to it. And it's exciting because you're building something new and he is building something new. And I'm so proud of him. And I can't wait for you to hear about what D is doing. Now, also in this episode, we talk about mental illness and anxiety. D is a therapist, as you will learn. And he talks about how to achieve balance and how that is so critical in our lives and for our well-being. And in fact, that's what he named his company, Achieving Balance, which I think is a beautiful company name for what he provides. And so before we get into this episode, I just want to introduce you a little bit more to my cousin. D.L. Wennes comes from a personal background of mental illness and chemical dependency. In 2001, he made a decision to address his struggles and asked for help. He has been in recovery since then and has dedicated the second half of his life to help others, first through volunteering and providing peer-to-peer support, and later as a licensed professional. D has been a licensed social worker since 2008. He has worked as a chemical dependency counselor for several years before shifting to outpatient therapy in 2015. He specializes in providing therapy to those struggling with co-occurring disorders, trauma, depression, anxiety, stress, anger, and patient and partner conflict. D utilizes EMDR, CBT, strength-based, or insight-oriented and anger management therapy modalities. He provides therapy to adult individuals and couples. He had an overwhelming support by his peers and clients to start his own practice, which, like I mentioned, launches in April of 2022. And when not working, he loves and worships the Minnesota Vikings, plays in 2 fantasy football leagues, and enjoys riding his Harley. I am so excited for you to meet my cousin, so let's get this party started. Are you ready to open up and talk about all things business? I'm Crystal Vilkaitis, a curious entrepreneur who loves talking about business, especially over a glass of wine. I started Crystal Uncorked to share open and honest conversations about my journey and talk to other entrepreneurs about their experiences. We pull back the curtain and talk about the highs and the lows. Wine isn't required, but is recommended. This is Crystal Uncorked. D and my cousin, welcome to the show. I'm thrilled you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Like I was saying before we started, I'm very happy about this show that you're doing and the service it provides to people. You've been an inspiration for me as I started my business. So thank you for that.
Well, that means the world to me, and I just love that you're enjoying it because I love doing this show. It's been so much fun, and I'm so excited for our conversation today. Now, before we dive in, tell me, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a mocha, cafe mocha. I actually, we can get into it, but I just moved into my new office, and in the reception area, we have what is affectionately called Optimus Prime. This coffee machine, it's about as big as an ice maker, and you can just pick any kind of coffee you want, any kind. Nice. You just go up there, press the button, and you get, so me being in recovery, recovering alcoholic addict, caffeine and sugar is basically what I live on. So yay for great coffee in my office.
Exactly. So. Good. I love it. You know, and I usually have wine, but today I have a very long to-do list after this meeting and another meeting. So I got my energizing green juice today from Hungry Root, which is absolutely helping. It's so delicious. I sound like I'm sponsored. I'm not at all.
Yeah.
I wish I was.
Are you a social influencer? Are they going to pay you for that plug?
Nope. I just really love Hungry Root.
Yeah.
Maybe
Awesome.
one day they'll sponsor. We'll have to send them this. But
Yeah.
cheers. I'm so glad that you're
Cheers.
here.
Thank
And
you.
just before we dive into this conversation, like I very briefly mentioned, you're my cousin. We are
Yes.
cousins on our mom's side. And
Yes.
out of the whole, there's 11 of us. And are you the second oldest?
I'm the second oldest. Yes. That's
Okay.
yeah. For mom's side, there's four of us boys for mom. And
Yep.
I used to be the middle child, and then Darren came along and screwed it all up.
Yep.
I'm just kidding.
Yep. Well, you're
No,
like doubly middle now.
Yeah. I'm like I'm older middle. So
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. And we grew up, I was the only one that grew up in Colorado away from
Right.
the whole like Marlowe side. So we didn't get to spend a lot of time together as a kid. But as I've
Right.
become an adult and I hang out with all my cousins, y'all are
Right.
crazy and fun. And I just
Yeah.
like laugh every time I'm with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get me and my brothers in the same room, or it's on. It's on.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I say get
It's
you
good
and your
time.
brothers in the same room. It's so fun.
Yeah.
But I am so proud of you too, because
Thank you.
are launching your business next week and we want to
Right.
hear about it, which is so exciting. And
Yeah.
so Dee, just tell us, how did you get started with what you're doing?
Well, I am a clinical therapist, so I provide individual and couples therapy. I've done different things over my career. I started off, to backstory, I had my own struggles with mental illness and chemical dependency for several years, and then decided to address that in 2001. And so before that, I was all over the world. I was in Manhattan for 3 years trying to be an actor, and I worked in LA for 6 years in the film business. I'm still a film junkie. And we can talk about my next project beyond this too. Remind me to ask me.
Okay.
But basically, once I got sober, it was like my second act, and I decided, well, now what do I do? And my older brother, Sean, said, you should probably just go back to college. And I was like, oh, I think I had like a 2.0 in high school and a 0.19 in college the first time I tried it.
Yeah.
So I enrolled in some classes in '05 and got straight A's and did the associates at the local technical college, and then got my bachelor's in social work a couple years later, and became a chemical dependency counselor at a local treatment center here. And I did that for 4 or 5 years. While I was doing that, I quickly realized that mental illness is the driving force behind almost all chemical dependency or addiction in general. I don't like to single out chemical dependency. I like to call them negative external resources for internal problems. So
Okay.
those could be, gambling, food, shopping, wine.
Hey, don't say it.
It could be all kinds of different things.
Right.
Hoarding. I work with clients for all kinds of different reasons for that. So I finished up grad school and then did a clinical internship at the Minnesota Security Hospital, which is a hospital for the mentally ill and dangerous. So some pretty severely mentally ill folks, and that was a really great experience. And then I've been doing community mental health ever since 2015. So I've been working as a therapist for other agencies up until this point. Private practice has been on my mind for probably 4 or 5 years. And life happens. You make poor choices, you make good choices. It dictates whether or not you can do whatever you need to do in your life at that time. And it just wasn't the right time. So now finally is the right time. I'm coming from an agency where I was the clinical director, and my boss gave me lots of leeway to explore, to have leadership ideas, right down to creating logos and marketing for the company. The original plan was I was going to take that company over when she retired. And I just decided, I don't want to supervise 5 different clinicians anymore at this time. I'm not adept at being a businessman. And so I'm learning that. I mean, I got a 3.85 in grad school. I can learn QuickBooks, but it's scary. It's scary, and accounting and accounts receivable and billing and invoices and all that stuff scares the crap out of me. The therapy side of it, no problem. I have 82 clients that are following me to my practice, so
Wow.
I have plenty of clients. It's just the business side that I'm learning. So,
Yeah, exactly.
and
Well,
I've tried several times. Go ahead. I told you
well, I
I
was
would
gonna.
talk right over you the whole
I know,
time.
no, that's okay. That's okay. I'm used to it.
Uh,
It's great. It's our conversation. But so I was going to ask, have you had your own business in the past?
I've tried several times
Okay.
unsuccessfully. I've tried network marketing. I've done Amway. I've done Melaleuca. I've done Herbalife. I tried those. Back a while back in the late '90s, I tried Carlton Sheets Real Estate company to buy and sell real estate. I owned a business that would send you a postcard in the mail to remind you of birthdays. So
Oh,
this is
uh-huh.
pre-internet, right? So if you
Yeah.
wanted to know what, you preload all of your family and friends' birthdays, and then a week before it would send you a postcard saying, "Don't forget your mom's birthday." And I was like, so I tried that. I think, obviously I haven't done the most recent business I tried, which was kind of tough on me. And after I finished grad school in 2012, I opened a group home, sober house for women in recovery, and it was a great idea. Had lots of referrals again, but I ran into what, I don't know if you've heard the term NIMBY. It's short for not in my backyard. So once my neighbors up there found out that I was running a sober house, I had all kinds of resistance and was brought before the city council and all kinds of fun stuff that wasn't fun at all. And
Right.
eventually, I had to close down the house in 14. So that's the last time I tried to do anything business related to my profession.
Exactly.
And so I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot about how city politics is important in that stuff. And so I just kind of went into being a therapist for different agencies for the last 6 years. And finally am deciding to just break out on my own and start my own practice, Achieving Balance Counseling. So,
Yes, achieving balance counseling, which I love and we'll link to too, and a few
yeah,
questions and thoughts in there.
yeah,
Um, so obviously, I just feel like when you hear from entrepreneurs and business owners, you can just tell when some people are just so entrepreneurial. Like they want to start
right,
businesses, they're serial entrepreneurial, they're starting all
right,
sorts of businesses. And I feel like that is so you based off of your past. The challenge
right,
that happens is like if we're starting things that we're not so passionate in or doesn't nurture or cater to our zone of genius and who we are and
right,
what we love, it's not going to work. And so I am
absolutely,
just really excited for you. It just takes that time to build up our experience and getting really
right,
clear on, how can I best be used and in this world?
hmm
And the fact that you're doing it like, and you're going to have a private practice, I feel like is going to be so rewarding because that's
yeah,
obviously you're entrepreneurial, and
right,
I'm just so stoked to see this happen. Now, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. No, yeah, I'm excited as well. I have, like I said, I had mental illness and chemical dependency, and the mental illness doesn't go away. So one of my diagnoses is generalized anxiety disorder. So, so I do really well for some reason, and maybe you can attest to this. I can give the best counsel to other people. Couples who are, fighting or lack of communication, or people struggling with anxiety, and I give them all the coping skills, and they practice them, and they come back and they say, "D, I'm doing it," and I'm like, "Yes," but then I have to apply that to myself.
Right.
So my generalized anxiety right now is just stupid stuff. Like, okay, D, you're all set up. You're in the office, all of your clients. I'm looking at my schedule for next week and I have 32 people booked for next week. And so, okay, there's all the evidence that there's going to be success, but
Yeah.
still that little asshole in the back of my mind. Sorry, can I swear? Is that
You
okay?
sure can. Yes. We're on
Okay.
cork.
Yeah, says, well, what if they just don't show? They told you they were
Mm,
going to show. it's a whole new building. It's a brand new building right downtown. So I'm really happy to be where I'm at. But you have those little demons that say, "Oh, what if they don't show up? And what if people don't keep calling you for appointments?" And so it's little stuff like that. So
Absolutely. There might be some nightmares leading up to it too until you're like in the rhythm of things. But I can
right,
so relate to that because
right,
we are launching our first in-person conference, which is happening April of 2023. So next year, called
nice,
Evolve. And I'm
nice.
like, what if nobody shows? The same thing. Like, I've got to get
right,
people there. How am I going to get people there? I'm like, I want to tell everybody about it all the time.
yeah,
And we have over a year to promote it, but I'm already like,
right,
oh my gosh.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, but here's me giving you feedback. You've been doing this for so long. You've been touring the world, telling and teaching people how to be entrepreneurial in a social space, and you're extremely successful. So I have no worries that your conference will be gangbusters.
Oh, well, thank you. And this is the same. I look at you and everything that you've done, and I have
Hmm.
no doubt that you are going to be successful, and all these people are going to show up next week. I know they will.
Oh, stop some more.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh man. Okay, so tell me, what do
yeah,
you have a lot of experience and how you kind of relate, to parts of your life and everything that you've been through.
right.
What is your zone of genius? The thing that you are really good at that you also can make money from and that you enjoy, that you just love doing?
Well, I you have to be a social person to be a therapist. Like I said in my previous life, my fallback profession was bartending, which is basically therapists without licenses.
Yeah.
So I practiced for years talking to people, and I'm a social butterfly. I love conversation. I really don't like this new age of the screens, of the phones.
Mhm.
Even when people are at the grocery store, they're disconnected from
Yeah.
other people around them. So I do little things. Like if somebody's in the grocery aisle looking at two different jars of Alfredo sauce, I literally just walk up and go, "Yeah, you got to go with that one."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Huh?" First of all, they're not used to people just walking up to them. And
Right.
they're like, "Oh, why?" And I said, "Well, which one did you pull off the shelf first?" And she's like, "Yeah, this one. Go with your first choice." And she's like, "Thank you." I'm like, "You bet. Happy shopping."
Yeah.
I'll create conversations at the checkout. I love being social. But as far as my professional, I think what sets me apart, no, I can't say that. What I enjoy and what I'm good at is I like to use analogies, and I can come up with an analogy for anything. So I like what I tell my clients is I'm simply a speaker. They're the microphone, and I translate what they're saying to me back in a language that they can understand. So if their
Mm.
internal anxiety or depression or PTSD or all of the above is they speak it to me in Spanish, let's just say, I know how to translate that and speak it back in English so they understand. So that's why I feel I'm successful at what I do, and I love it. You talked about passion before. All those other businesses I tried, I just wanted to make money.
Right.
I wanted to get a quick fix. I wanted to make some money to be able to, whatever, travel, do whatever I needed to do in life, have a nice home.
Yeah.
But this is my passion. Helping people is what I'm set here to do. It's my purpose. I tell everybody the definition of recovery is staying balanced long enough to discover and nurture your purpose in life.
Mm.
Everybody that struggles, for what I've observed in the probably over 10,000 hours of individual 1 hour sessions, is they have a hard time identifying their purpose. And
Yeah.
once they do, then you have a light at the end of the tunnel to focus on. And I just feel like I'm a conductor. I just hop on. Let's go. Let's go together. So,
I love that. I mean, I think that us trying to find our purpose and why are we here and what are we meant to do, we that comes up in our life, and I think that comes up multiple times in our life too, because our passions can change and our interests can change, and then we start all over again. And when
yeah,
you don't know, it's a really scary place and you feel lost. You might feel trapped because you're stuck in a job that you know you're not supposed to be in. You don't feel in alignment. And then, and I'm speaking from, I've experienced this, so I understand it. But then I can imagine too, if you're adding in something from a chemical dependency or a mental illness, like that must be even so much more challenge. So I love how you say, like, stay balanced long enough to find what that is. That's so great.
Yeah. I mean, I actually put together a little, I don't know, a chart of what I consider a balanced life and how people can work on that. So I have it divided up into 4 quadrants. One quadrant is your work, your shelter, your basic needs. Another quadrant is sleep, relaxation, family, socializing. Another quadrant is self-care and self-advancement. And so if you're not happy in the job, or you're not happy in your life, you're not happy in your marriage, you're not happy anywhere, that's what the self-care advancement, and that can be exercise, that could be therapy. I have my own therapist. I have my own psychiatrist for my medications, and I have a therapist, and I'm not afraid to share that, because clients need to know that even me, 20 years into this journey of recovery, I still need to daily practice my coping skills. So that's the self-care, self-advancement quadrant. And then the last quadrant I think gets overmissed or overstepped is the social, the networking, the volunteering, giving back. So between those 4 quadrants, now if everybody did all 4 equally, everybody'd be perfect, I'd be out of a job. But there's external factors that mess with that, like mental illness, disabilities, addiction, how you were raised, your childhood development, your socioeconomic status, the color of your skin, your sexuality, your gender identity, positive and negative influences like good parents versus abusive parents. All of that has to be filtered through and worked through in a therapeutic process in order to get to like I said, a balanced life. So that's what my whole focused on. That's why the company's achieving balance, and I think that's overarching for anything you're struggling with. If you find balance, then you can take on anything, including starting your own business.
I love that so much. And something I want to ask that I wasn't planning on to, but I just feel like I have to. And I know we could spend 5 hours talking about this one thing. It's probably a loaded question a little bit, but and I feel like it's kind of obvious, but I just want your take in the space that you're in with COVID. Have you seen a rise in patients, or just I really wonder and worry about our world after what happened with COVID, or with isolation. Everything changed overnight, and then there's a lot of fear, and just our kids too, like not going to school and not being around people. And so can you just spend a couple minutes on like what your take is in that and what you've seen?
Well, obviously our practice as mental health therapists has increased with that, especially about 4 months into the pandemic, when people were home for about a month or 2 and just not used to that. Like I was telling you before we started, I decided to take a day off yesterday. I've been working about 60 hours a week for the last 2 months to get this business going. And I said, I'm going to take a day, and it was horrible. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to check my email. So people got a little stir crazy. They weren't used to not being able to socialize. I put a video on my Achieving Balance YouTube channel called Fear with Respectable Caution. And I noticed there was 3 levels of approaches to the pandemic. The top level, or not in any particular order of importance, the first level was people that were like, I'm not going anywhere. I am not going to be involved in life in any way. I'm going to have my food shipped in. I am not going to hug people. I'm not going to even go to the grocery store. They weren't experiencing life at all. They were completely sheltered. And on the bottom end, you had the what I call America folks that, COVID doesn't exist. The vaccine is not scientifically proven. I'm going anywhere I want without a mask at any time. So that was basically no precautions whatsoever. And so the medium ground I tried to tell people when I worked with people during COVID, and still, is fear with respectable caution. So it's okay to live your life with respectable caution. When you get into a vehicle to drive to work or wherever you're going, you're not gripped with anxiety and fear, but you still put the seatbelt on. You still check your mirrors. You don't drive impaired. You do all the things you need to do to be safe when you drive, but you're not living in fear of driving. So that's what I try to encourage them to go the middle round. Live your life with respectable caution. So everybody had their own approach to that. Nobody who's been through a pandemic in our freaking life. Not me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it was all a whole new thing. Science is wrong. It's not. It's, so our business as mental health therapy ramps up. Another video. Here I am looking like I'm trying to promote my my YouTube channel because I have about 5 videos on there in the last 2 years. I suck at it, So anyway, so basically, what the anxiety that you felt or what society felt during COVID, that underlying fear of waking up in the morning and going, I don't know how this is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to get sick. I don't know if my family members are going to get sick, pass away. And that underlying just anxiety is what my clients have, pandemic or not.
Right.
That's what people with mental health struggles have. That's what anxiety is. So that feeling that you had during COVID for the last year or two is what all my clients have, pandemic or not. Mm-hmm. So all my clients are like, what's the problem? I'm at therapy again this week.
Right.
Right. I'm still just as, I'm still struggling just like I did before the pandemic. So yeah, that's my business, my clients, it's about the same thing.
Yep. So. Yep. I kind of, and I figured there was a rise too. And I think we'll continue to see that as well because our world is still shifting a lot. But to shift gears a little bit here. Oh, yeah.
I know you want to shift. Let me just add one more thing. What COVID allowed people to do is recognize that they needed help. They needed therapy. So there's a lot more people that would have never gone and seen a therapist or somebody to talk to that because of the pandemic said, I just have to, and now go, oh, this is therapy? Okay, I can do this. Right. So that was the positive of it, if you can take a positive from it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I do feel like there were actually a lot of positives that came out of COVID. I mean, innovation can happen, and even we did see some unity. We also saw the opposite of that, but like there's always the good and the bad. But that is such a good point that it almost made it more acceptable, which I think everybody should get therapy. I'm such a believer in it. I don't think anything's wrong. You shouldn't be ashamed. Like, we are humans. Our brains are powerful and they just take over our thoughts. And sometimes it's hard to just navigate that, if not impossible, to navigate that on our own. So that's why it's great that there are people like you. Now, speaking about
go ahead.
Fears and insecurities and anxiety, tell me about a time where you had fear or anxiety or insecurity, and how did you overcome that?
Well, it's interesting because that's what I'm going through right now. I have everything set up for my practice, everything booked, clients know where it's, everything's ready. But I've only spent money so far. I haven't brought money in. And so there's that, like I was saying, there's that fear. But what has helped me is my partner, Vicky, is a great support for me. My family has been supportive. My previous employers are like, it's time, Dee, you got to do this. All my referral sources in the community are like, great, just tell me what your new number is. You can do this. I've had nothing but support. And so self-doubt is literally, I talk to myself all the time. And I just say, if I feel anxiety, I treat anxiety like it's this annoying little whatever demon thing. And I just wake up with anxiety and I go, dude, not today. I don't have time for you. So a lot of self-awareness. I have seen my therapist every 2 weeks during this period versus every month. I've figured out what my sources are and my sources of support. Anxiety is going to be natural for anybody for the rest of their lives. I can't live with it. I have to use the evidence that's before me that it's going to work, and the people that remind me that it's going to work. and I've worked hard. I've been doing this for 13 years as a social worker in Mankato, Minnesota. I've built up referral sources. I've built relationship with other therapists, county workers, social workers, everybody.
Right.
Pretty much knows who I am in the therapy world in Mankato. It's a small town. For us, it's not small because we're from Minnesota. We're at about 100,000 here in Mankato, but after living in New York and LA for 8 years, it's a small town for me. Anyway, it's a small world here, and I worked hard. And I just have to remind myself that I deserve to be successful. Because anxiety will tell you shouldn't be successful. This isn't going to work. So I just have to, those positive self-thoughts, self-affirmations, and support from other people has been really great. But I'm right in the middle of it. I'm right in the middle of the fear and anxiety. I battle it every day, but it never wins every day. By the end of the day, I'm good.
Which I love, and I deserve to be successful. I love that because it's something I've been thinking about and I talk about on the show too, like, why not me? Because I'll think, well, why me? Why would I be successful? Why would I get X, Y, Z and do whatever? And then I'm like, well, why not me? And I just think that we get in this like that we're not worthy enough kind of mentality. And I've been working a lot of because I believe anybody can have anything they want, like a very abundant, I believe in people. I believe that they can. And with you, you've done everything you can up until this point. It's game time, right? There's not much else left for you to do. And there's this element of you put yourself out there and you trust that it's going to work and you believe. And like you said, I deserve success, but that worthiness of having it, I think people struggle with that. We put a barrier to the amount of success or the level of success that we can have. And it can be hard to break through that and go to the next level, but it's so worth it. And I love that you're doing it. You're breaking through.
Well, and I'll be 51 next month. I'm no spring chicken. So this is my last hurrah. This is I hope, I'm planning for success for this to work. And I want to carry this out through the rest of my career, whenever that happens. 15, 20 years, however that is. So it was time.
Awesome. Yep. I love it. Now, if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Okay, I picked this question specifically for you to ask because I think it's a dangerous question. If I had to do it all over again, I counsel my clients on coulda, shoulda, wouldas. I say you're shoulding all over yourself if you say those. So shoulda, coulda, woulda are shame-based statements. Oh, if I only would have done it better that way, or if I could have done it this way. Those are shame-based statements. And that leads to more anxiety and more self-doubt. So when you ask if I had to do it all over again, would I do anything differently? So my first response to that answer is nope. I mean, I am who I am. There's no way I'd be sitting here today without the experience I gained. There's some things, if I could go back and tell my younger self to do things differently, sure. I think what I want to do is in expanding with the business, I want to get it up and going. I want to get my billables and all the accounts receivable and all this business stuff that I'm learning how to do. I want to get that going. And what normal people do with a clinic is then they'll bring on another therapist or a second or a third to be a part of the clinic. There's waiting lists here in Mankato 6 months out.
Wow.
So there's a demand for therapy. I don't want to do that. I want to mentor. Instead of bringing in a therapist that works for me and gives me a cut of the billables so I can be their boss, I want to mentor people to, yes, you can bill under my name until you're credentialed with your insurance companies. You can learn, you can build up a caseload. And once you feel like you have a good, solid caseload, then I'm going to teach you how to do what I did. I'm going to teach you how to file for an EIN tax number. I'm going to teach you how to file for an MPI-2 number, how to start credentialing. I want to encourage people to be their own independent therapists. So that's a goal of mine because that's what, if somebody told me or encouraged me to do that probably 4 or 5 years ago, that's the route I would have took. So if I had to do that over again, maybe I'd be in private practice 4 or 5 years earlier. But life is what it is, and here I am. So
Exactly. And you know what? I love that, helping and mentoring. And I think that you
mhm.
have an opportunity because I know I have a lot of online training courses and I'm a teacher and a speaker and a trainer. I feel like you could have a little side business here where you make a little training course on if you want to create your own private practice. Here's my 5 lesson course.
Yeah, I actually, my next step, I think the biggest danger people can have is to stop dreaming, right? So
Yes.
I want to get this going, but my passion has always been film. And I worked in the film business for a while, and I would have loved to stay in it, but mental health and chemical dependency can derail things. I've wanted to write a book, biography. I wanted to, do some video stuff. So my next step is to start my own production company, and I'm going to start off with a documentary instead of a.
Ooh.
Yeah, I said it here first. I should trademark that.
I
Actually,
know.
I'm going to give credit to my partner Vicky. She's the one who came up with that. But and as a kind of a reunion tour, I'm going to go to all the places I've lived, all around Minnesota and New York and North Dakota, California, all the places I lived, and I'm going to film stock footage of all those spots, and then I'm going to voice over the documentary over the top of it. So I want to do that, and maybe somewhere down the road I become a documentarian, or I don't know, do inspirational speaking. I don't know. Sign me up for your conference. I'll come out and give a speech.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and I love this idea of going back to all your places. Like, this is such a cool idea, and I can just so see it, and how special too to film
Yeah,
that. And I feel like people would want to do something similar. It's a cool way to kind of walk down memory lane,
yeah.
document memory. That's so awesome. Definitely make
I
sure you
have a
trademark
story.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you sure
documentary.
do.
Okay. All right, let me
Yeah.
write that down.
Yep.
Trademark documentary.
Trademark it.
See, I'm learning. This is like a learning conference here.
Yes, I love it.
So, anyway, I'm not going to stop, trying to have
Right.
fun.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with saying, why can't we do something that we can earn a living and have fun doing? So often we just say, I can't have fun in this. I just got to pay the bills, and I don't know. So, dreaming.
Exactly. Well, and that's what I just talked to my team about this a few weeks ago in a meeting, and I was like, we're going to do all this and we're going to have fucking fun while we do it. Like, we're just going to
Yes,
have fun.
yes.
I want, like,
Right,
why not? I want to have fun. I like to be
right,
goofy and joke, and
right.
like, we are the same blood. Like, why does it
Yeah,
have to be so heavy all the time? And
and serious.
like, yeah, like, we could still work hard and achieve results and go after whatever it is that we want, but we can also have fun and lighten up. And that is so
Right,
something that my mom has taught me. Like, she
right.
is a hard worker, but man, she has a lot of fun too. So I love
Yeah,
that you got the same
yeah.
mindset. Of course you do.
Of course we
Um,
do. Runs in the blood.
exactly.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to have fun,
Exactly. I can't do
Bring on my
accents, so I'm
Norwegian.
not even going to try.
You can't do the Minnesota accent?
Well,
Yeah, that's true.
sometimes, like,
You never grew up here. You were
I
Colorado, right?
yeah, exactly. But what happens to me is if I spend like a week back there, I come back with a stronger accent.
Yeah,
It rubs off on me, and it will come through sometimes. But if I'm like trying to have an accent, don't you know, it doesn't work for me.
yeah, right. Whenever I talk to my older brother on the phone who's out in California, he gives me the crap about my accent. And
Yeah.
I think Minnesotans are the only ones who don't think or know they have an accent. They just
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't have an accent until you
Yeah.
travel. Then they're
You
like,
have
where are
the
you from,
accent. Yeah.
Canada? No,
Exactly.
Minnesota.
Yeah, it's
So,
so true.
yeah.
It's so true. Well, before we hang up here, I actually have a selfish question. My dad struggles very badly with anxiety. And
hmm
as we're sitting here, I'm just thinking, like, do you have one or two, because I know we could talk forever about this as well, but do you have one or two tips for somebody who has somebody in their life, like I do, who struggles with
hmm
really bad anxiety, how to show up for that person?
I, you know, I think everybody wants to help the people that we love go through struggles. Anxiety is one of those weird things. Like I'm bipolar, right? That's my main struggle. not struggle. I'm manic depressive. If I don't take my medications, I'm manic on top of the just flying high, or I'm depressed and just down. But anxiety is self-created, and so it can be self-fixed. So there's two hallmarks of anxiety: the fear of the unknown and the lack of control. When people get in that situation, that's when anxiety happens. But what I've found is that whenever I have anxiety in life, it's usually when something really important is happening for me, whether it's a job interview or starting my own private practice. My anxiety's been through the roof, which means it's pre. It's not during and it's not post. It's pre. So the anxiety is there. And then once you get started, I'm sure you speak all over the country. I'm sure you have a little anxiety before you get up on stage. But as soon as you get up there, and as soon as you get up there, and as soon as you start talking, you're in control, you're the professional. At least for me, the anxiety goes away. So how can you help other people in your life? You can't fix them, but you can just say, I'm here. And you don't have to try to come up with a remedy. You can just listen and let them know you're available. I know it sounds cliche, but if you try to fix people, that's called codependency, and that's dangerous too. So all you can do is offer your help or do a little research. One thing I'll never do again is coerce therapy. I've been in businesses where, clients are forced to go to therapy because probation officer or judge or somebody says they have to, and it never works. So you can't tell an alcoholic to get sober until they want to. You can't tell someone with mental illness to get help unless they want to. For me, when the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the pain of changing, you will change. So when you get to that point where, everybody hits that point where they need that help, and hopefully it's not at the very bottom.
Exactly.
Before that.
Well, and that's great advice, and I think that
And
especially
drugs help.
Well, I actually
anti-anxiety medications.
Yep, I gave my dad some like CBD stuff.
There you go.
Like
Colorado
gummies.
is a legal state.
I'm like, I don't do them, but I'm like,
no,
this will chill you out. I don't know, but as a daughter, like you want to just help your parents, and but there is an element where you can't do. You can only do so much, and just being there is definitely helpful. So I appreciate you answering that.
And I'm joking. Drugs aren't the answer, but I have a lot of clients that use a lot of different ways to deal with their anxiety. And for me, I have a psychiatrist prescribed anti-anxiety medication. Other people, CBD I've heard works well. I have other clients that smoke actual cannabis with a medical marijuana card. There's all kinds of different approaches. I'm biased. I think talk therapy is the best way to get through it, but we all have a team. It's about balance.
Yeah, totally. And then it comes back to balance, which I love.
Yep.
Dee, tell everybody how they can learn more about you and your new practice.
They can go to achievebalancecounseling.net. Now, I couldn't get achieving balance counseling, and I was like, I wonder if this is going to work. achievebalancecounseling.net. They can search that on YouTube under Achieving Balance, and they can find me on Facebook under Achieving Balance Counseling. On Facebook, there's a few different Achieving Balance Counselings out there in the world. I'm not a unique name, but if you just put Achieving Balance Counseling, Minnesota on Facebook, you can find me there. And I'll post some links. You got to teach me, Crystal. You got to teach me all this YouTube crap.
I can do that. I am a good source for that. So don't worry. And we'll link to all this too in the show notes. And Dee, I'm just so grateful for you and your time. And I'm so proud of you. And I'm so excited. And you know what? We should do like a 1 year. We'll have you come back and tell us how the first year went.
Sounds good. I hope to still be working.
Yes. You will.
There's that freaking anxiety. I'll be here.
Exactly. Yes, you will.
Appreciate it.
Okay, awesome. Everyone else, I will see you on the next CU. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, let's keep this conversation going. Join me on Instagram. I'm at Crystal Uncorked. And I need to tell you, thank you so much for listening to this show. It truly means the world to me. If you're enjoying Crystal Uncorked, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Okay, I'll see you on the next CU. Cheers, friend.